day today, working out, trying to get the lake draining. We had it going for a while, brother. The vacuum, a lot of work. Freddie, that was real work today. Thank you for joining us. It is June 28th, 2017. Answering a couple questions. We got company from out of town, so we're going to go make this short, I hope. A couple questions that get answered. Daniel's not feeling good. Steve had to go to the hospital, something with his stomach, so be praying for Steve. The techno guy, so I'll go visit him tomorrow. All right, let's pray and we'll get started. Lord, thank you for loving us. Thank you for your word. Thank you for the simple way to reach the whole planet here from Lenox, Alabama. Please bless this ministry, Lord. Help us to grow and prosper and win many souls to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, we got some grandkids visiting. I won't put you on camera, but how did you like, let's see, the redneck swing? Did you try that today off the platform?
Well, no, they didn't swing. They jumped off.
He tried the swing?
He couldn't get the rope.
Oh, we got to get the tow rope on it.
The rope is
Just jumping off of that platform is pretty
Just,
cool,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you tried the zip lines?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're not open to the public.
Not open to the public, but it's just really, really fun. And
Yes.
and the water in the lake goes all the way to the bottom,
And it was refreshing.
and it's nice.
wonderful.
So, Dinosaur Adventureland, we're having a blast. Thank you. So we're going out for dinner in a minute. Okay, I get questions. I got a stack from the poor lady dies. She sends them to me all the time. And brother, you got the shop half organized.
Oh,
Man,
that's great.
that is incredible. Thank you. Now we need somebody to come down who's a handyman just to live here permanently. Just say, I'm going to live here and fix everything you got broken around there. Be perfect, right? We seem to break it faster than we can keep it going. Let's see. Okay, this one from Miguel, Miguel. Is that pronounced Miguel?
Yeah.
Miguel. He says, if we were created alongside with dinosaurs and all present animals in the beginning, why is there only fossils of dinosaurs and not human or modern animals? Why is there so many animals that look different before? Is the Earth even 6,000 years old? Can you explain me, please? I'd like it. Thank you. Okay, quick answer here, Miguel. The fossils are found all over the world, okay? I've had the kids bring in a jawbone from a deer, okay? Usually when an animal dies, and how many died today? Millions, okay? They get scattered all over the woods. The coyotes and the critters drag them. For the bones to be all together in a skeletal form and fossilized would require instant burial after death, or burial while they're dying, as in a flood, okay? Because today you just simply don't find skeletons intact. The ants drag them around, the buzzards drag them around, the coyotes drag them around, the possums, all kinds of critters come in. Oh, wow, something died. Yay, let's go get them. And they drag the pieces around. So fossils of dinosaurs are found all over the world. All I have here is my blondosaurus within reach, so you have to talk to her kind of slow. But when you find dinosaur bones, very frequently they're found completely intact, all in one place, which indicates they drowned in a flood. They didn't die and get scavenged, okay? So fossils, first thing to consider, fossils, period, indicate a flood. This deer that died, who knows where, who knows when, is not going to turn into a fossil. Even the bones are going to decay. It's going to rot because they weren't buried in mud. In order for a fossil to form at all, they've got to be buried right away in mud. And then as the bone slowly decays, the mud soaks in and fills the holes. And actually, most fossils are a cast of the original. There's no bone actually left. It's just an exact cast in whatever the mineral it got buried in. Some fossilized with all kinds of different rock out there. So, Miguel, to answer your question, fossils, I think, at all prove there was a flood because of the way they're found, oftentimes fully articulated. Secondly, when you find a bone in the dirt, all you really know is it died. You could not prove it had any children. You certainly couldn't prove it had children that lived, and you sure couldn't prove it had children that were different from itself. Today, horses have babies, and guess what they grow up to be? Horses. When cows have babies, they grow up to be cows. When ducks have babies, by the way, the 3 baby ducks are still out there.
You saw
I
them?
saw them.
Good.
Also I think I saw an eagle sitting in the tree at the end of Pearl Lane. Have you seen eagles out here? I think that was way too big for a hawk, anyway. So they like duck also. But everything in the world produces babies that grow up, that look, they're the same kind. So to say that a fossil proves anything for evolution is absolutely stupid, okay? you couldn't prove that bone you found in the dirt had any children. I forgot the mic again. Sorry about that. Okay. So, Miguel, I don't think you could prove that fossils of dinosaurs have never been found with other animals. First of all, I'd like to ask, who's looking for them, and who's reporting it, and where are they reporting it, and do those people that are reporting it have a bias or an agenda that they're trying to protect? Maybe their evolution theory is carefully protected. So if you found dinosaurs and human bones next to each other, or a human riding a dinosaur, it probably wouldn't get reported. Now, with that in mind, right beside you over there, Freddie, there's a book called Fossils. Fossils is in the title. I've got a whole bunch of books about fossils, okay? There have been human and dinosaur fossils found in the same rock strata. But the rock strata doesn't matter either. This is part of my seminar part 4, when I was in Union Center, South Dakota, which is right there, middle of no place, 38 people came to the church. There were 40 people in the whole town, like Lennox, and we had a revival, man, had the whole town come. We went down to see the School of Mines in Rapid City, South Dakota. The guy's giving us a tour. I was there again. Did you go with me when we were there in South Dakota in the last year or two?
I went to South Dakota, but we didn't go there.
Okay. Well, I went through here again. When we went there, my daughter was 11 at the time, I think. But we stopped here by the geologic time scale, big, huge chart, and they show the different layers of the Earth, and they've got fancy names for them. Maybe you saw the movie Jurassic Park, named after the Jurassic layer. All of those names of those different layers, all that column that they show you, only exists one place in the world, in the textbook. There is no geologic column. It does not exist, except in the textbook and in their imagination. All of those layers formed at the same time in Noah's flood. Freddie, you got that thing there, different layers of sand over there? Yeah. In a matter of a few seconds, you can make several different layers, right? Or you can flip it over and make 100 different layers if you double it up a little bit. Rapid sedimentation happened during Noah's flood. Now, we're standing here by this geologic column, and the guide's giving us a tour. And we stop right here, and he said, now, folks, this rock layer right here is about 70 million years old. My daughter was 11 or 12 at the time. She raised her hand. She said, sir, how do you know that layer is 70 million years old? He said, well, we tell the age of the layer by the kinds of fossils we find in it. This one had dinosaur bones, so it must be 70 million years old. Okay, thank you, sir. We walked around the other side. By the way, they do date the fossils. They date the layers by the fossils, called index fossils. It's right in the text. All the textbooks are, that bookcase and that bookcase is full of textbooks. You can look it up for yourself. They date the fossils. They use index fossils to date the layers. So if they want to see how old is this rock layer, they look around and see what kind of fossil they find in it. If it contains a dinosaur bone, it's given an age of 70 million years. That's how it's done. Now, let's see, right here. We walked around the other side. We're standing over here. And the guide said, folks, these bones you're looking at here are 100 million years old. They always get that sanctimonious tone in their voice, 100 million years old. Oh, yes, Father. Yes, Father. Okay. And so my daughter raised her hand again. She said, sir, when we were standing over there, she said, how do you know the age of those bones? And he said, we tell the age of the bones by which layer they came from. Oh, I was standing there listening to this. My daughter said, sir, when we were standing over there, you told me you knew the age of the layers by the bones. But now you're telling me you know the age of the bones by the layers. Isn't that circular reasoning? Using one to prove the other? And it is. And they could have picked any number they wanted for those ages. They could have said it's 400 trillion years old and prove it the same way. If the layers are dated by the fossils and the fossils are dated by the layers, that is absolute stupidity in my humble, totally unbiased opinion. That guide had the strange look on his face. It was really almost as if he were thinking. Oh. First time in a while. He looked at my daughter. He looked at me. I wasn't about to help him. I thought, man, I got to hear this. He looked back at my daughter. He said, you're right. That is circular reasoning. I never thought of that before. Using the bones to prove the age of the layers and using the layers to prove the age of the bones. And they admit it. Here, this textbook says, the age of the layers determines the age of the fossils found in it. How do they tell the age of the layers? By the fossils. They admit it. It's right in the books. They're right back there on the shelf, okay? They have got these index fossils all over the place. They've already made up this whole column based on circular reasoning. I'm answering Miguel's question here. On this textbook, this is the Glencoe Biology 94. It's back there somewhere. You can look it up. page 306 and 307. On one page, they tell the kids the layers of rock can be dated by the types of fossils they contain. On the next page, they tell them to date the fossils by the rocks. Here they told them to date the rocks by the fossils, and now you know date the fossils by the rock. It is sheer stupidity. That's lie number 3 on my video number 4, Lies in the Textbooks, where I cover 50 basic lies in the textbook. Here's from American Journal of Science. The intelligent layman has long suspected circular reasoning in the use of rocks to date fossils and fossils to date rocks. The geologist has never bothered to think of a good reply. Feeling the explanations are not worth the trouble as long as the work brings results. Hey, as long as it works, we're going to keep doing it. That's the way they feel about it. Okay. It cannot be denied from a strictly philosophical standpoint. Geologists are arguing in a circle. The succession of organisms has been determined by a study of their remains embedded in the rocks, that would be the fossils, and the relative ages of the rocks are determined by the remains of the organisms. They're dating the rocks by the fossils and the fossils by the rocks. They do it all the time. And it never enters their mind to say, whoa, stop. What am I doing here? What on earth am I doing? It's all baloney. This is from Encyclopedia Britannica. Ever since William Smith, fossils have been and still are the best and most accurate method of dating and correlating the rocks in which they occur. Apart from very modern examples, I can think of no cases of radioactive decay being used to date fossils. Kids, they're going to tell you in school, they tell the age of the bones by radiocarbon dating or potassium argon dating, or there's about 6 different ones. They're lying to you through their teeth. They don't tell the age of the bones that way. They tell the age of the bones by which layer they came from. That's how it's done. Radioactive dating, like carbon dating, would not have been feasible if the geologic column had not been erected first. Take a fossil to a university and say, how old is this? Can you please carbon date it, or potassium argon date it, or rubidium strontium, or lead-208, or lead-206, whatever they want to use. Okay. They'll say, where did you find it? What difference does it make where I found it? I would like to know the age. Well, we have to know where you found it so we can get an approximate age bracket so we know if we're getting the right one when we test it. I am serious. One family, I got the article, and I think it's in one of the books on the second shelf. When the kids were small, their cat died. So they took it out in the backyard and buried it. Buried the cat, you know. When the kids got to be in college, they came home for Christmas one day and said, hey, let's go dig up the cat. So they went, it's about 10 years later, I forget, 12 years later, they went and dug up the cat. And the cat had turned to stone. It had fossilized. The bones had fossilized, turned to fossils. So they took it to a university and said, what is this? And they studied it and tested it and said, well, these are the bones of a cat that died, 4.2 million years ago, or something like that. They made up some number. It happens all the time. Okay, it's pure baloney. Paleontologists cannot operate this way. There is no way simply to look at a fossil and say how old it is, unless you know the age of the rocks it comes from. You can't tell unless you know the age of the rocks. And this poses something of a problem. Yeah, I think it does. If we date the rocks by the fossils, how can we then turn around and talk about patterns of evolutionary change through time in the fossil record? This is Niles Eldredge, one of the poster boys for evolution. I heard him speak in Florida one time, at the University of West Florida. It is pure circular reasoning. And let me get that advanced. So the rocks date the fossils, but the fossils date the rocks more accurately. That's why I have often said, you would have to go to school for years to be that stupid. The more education they get, it seems the more stuff they fall for. When someone says, I got 3 PhDs in botany and paleontology, and I feel sorry for them. You paid a whole lot of money to learn some really dumb stuff, to learn this kind of stuff, okay? Stratigraphy cannot avoid that kind of reasoning if it insists on using only temporal concepts, because circularity is inherent. We have to use circular reasoning or it doesn't work. This guy said the charge of circular reasoning can be handled several ways. It can be ignored. It's not the proper concern of the public. In other words, it's none of your business how we do it. It can be denied by calling down the law of evolution, capital E in the original document, like it's God of some kind. It can be admitted as a common practice or avoided by pragmatic reasoning. This is from American Journal of Science. Are the authorities maintaining on the one hand that evolution is documented by geology and on the other that geology is documented by evolution? Isn't that a circular argument? Yes, sir, that sure is. The title of the article is Biologists, Help! Please help. See, the biologist thinks that the guy who digs up the bones in the ground, the geologist, has already proven evolution. So he points to the geologist and says he knows how old it is. The geologist thinks the biologist has already proven it. He points to the biologist and says, oh no, he's proven it. No, he's proven it. He's proven it. Nobody's proven it. It didn't happen. It absolutely didn't happen. In the Scopes monkey trial, 1925, the book is here somewhere. Cindy, do you remember?
You got your books everywhere, dear.
There, okay. It's right in here. The world's most famous court case. It's in here somewhere. Okay. This guy said, the lowest layers are obviously the oldest. No, not true. But in 1925, that's what they thought. You look like we went today and sat around the old gravel pit here and saw where they stopped mining, and there's layers of gravel, layers of clay, layers of sand, layers of gravel. Is the layer at the bottom the oldest? You would think so, but it's not true. You see, when moving water carries a lot of sediments, it can deposit 5 or 10 or 15 layers at the same time. You can do that with that thing in a few seconds, Freddie. Shake it up and it'll go sideways and deposit many layers simultaneously. So it is possible to have a fossil on top that is actually older than a fossil at the bottom. Think about it. The layers are not different ages. I like to ask evolutionists, I say, guys, you have limestone scattered all through your crazy geologic column. If I hand you a piece of limestone, how could you know how old it is? What's the difference between 100 million year old Jurassic limestone and 600 million year old Cambrian limestone? They're both limestone. How do you know? They'd say, well, we tell by the index fossils. That's exactly what they'll tell you. So, they'd say the trilobite is a good index fossil. This book says the trilobite is a good index fossil. If a trilobite, such as this one, is found in a rock layer, the rock layer probably formed 500 to 600 million years ago. Oh, okay? That's what they say. They found a human shoe print. That book you got, the big one that I gave you, Strange Stories, has this picture and story in here. They found a human shoe print where the guy stepped on and smashed a trilobite. Hold it. If a human stepped on a trilobite, and the human's wearing a shoe, I don't think it's common sense to say the trilobites lived 500 million years ago. One guy said, well, maybe aliens visited the planet 500 million years ago.
Maybe that's it.
Oh, them aliens will do it every time, you know. There he is. And he's wearing a shoe. Yep, right there. Oh. Another guy said, maybe there was a large trilobite shaped like a shoe that fell on a small one. There are some pretty big trilobites. Wow. But they're not shaped like a shoe. I think there's a simpler explanation. God made everything in 6 days. There was a big flood that destroyed the world, and a whole bunch of stuff drowned at the same time. And it probably got sorted a little bit based upon body density. People will argue, where's those petrified clams? Are they in reach here? It doesn't matter. People will argue clams are found at the bottom of the so-called geologic column. And they'll say, I see, oh, I agree, generally that's true. And they'll say, see, that proves clams evolved first. I say, no, no, no. You see, clams are already at the bottom when the flood starts.
Yeah.
That's where they live. So they're the first ones buried. Right? Birds are generally found on the top layers. Okay? They'll say, see, that proves birds evolved last. I say, no. Birds are the last ones to drown in a flood. Aren't they? Can't they fly around till they run out of gas?
Yeah.
So of course they're going to be on top. Plus they have hollow feathers and hollow bones. They're going to float. Even after they die, they float. Maybe the order to the so-called fossils is clams on the bottom, birds on top. Maybe they're buried based upon their habitat. That's where they live. Maybe they're buried or sorted based upon their intelligence. As far as anybody's been able to figure out, clams are not too smart. Right? Maybe they're based upon their body density. They're heavier. They go to the bottom. Clam shells are heavier than bird feathers. Hello. There's lots of reasons to explain the sorting. Maybe clams and birds don't normally hang out together. And so they're likely to not be buried together. I mean, hello. I mean, if there was a flood today and we all drowned and everything drowned, we probably would not be found with the horses next door, would we? Would that prove humans and horses did not live at the same time? I don't know if anybody's ever found human fossils and horse fossils in the same layer. I don't think they have. That proves horses and people did not live at the same time, doesn't it? No, you don't find their bones together because they don't hang out together very often. We got to feed them today, but that's about it. Then they go off and find something else to do. So, to answer your question quickly, that was not a quick answer, and we're out of time here. I don't know that it's true that humans and dinosaur fossils have not been found together. I think, actually, if you contact Joe Taylor at the Mount Blanco Museum or Carl Baugh at Glen Rose, Texas Museum, I think they would show you evidence where they have been found together. So, and why are so many different animals that look different on the earth, found as fossils? Well, I don't know that that's true either, but I think before the flood came, the Bible indicates the people lived to be 900, everything lived longer, probably grew bigger. I think that they would be different animals that have gone extinct maybe. Some things have gone extinct, like the dodo bird, or if that's extinct, and it probably is, okay? But that's not proof for evolution. It's proof that we're losing some animals to extinction. That could happen. But it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with the age of the earth. I think everything is much more simple and logical and scientific to explain with a flood. This deer, I don't know where the other part of his jaw is. But I know when you find deer fossils, you find the whole thing sometimes, still all articulated, put together. Had to be buried in mud. The flood's the best way to explain that. But 2 Peter chapter 3 says the scoffers in the last days are willingly ignorant of that flood because they don't want to admit God has authority to judge the world. But he does, and he's going to do it again. Coming soon to a city near you. You might want to get ready for that. Okay, we got to go. Another Bible study tomorrow night. We'll be a little more organized and hopefully be on time here. But I'll try to get some more questions in as I can. I know I got a stack. I'm sorry if you've been waiting a long time. Watch the seminar series where I answer almost all the questions. It's 18 hours talking as fast as I can go with 7,000 slides in PowerPoint. So we want to get your questions answered if we can. Or just call us, 855-BIG-DINO, go to extension 3, and my phone will ring. And I may answer it, I may not. If I get time, I will. If I hear it. Out here in the country, we don't get good signal. So if you don't get me to answer, don't feel bad. I'll try again. We'll try it again. All right, supper time, right? Taking the motor home?